It's time to hold a police officer accountable for what he did. That's the call from a group of lawmakers and local faith leaders in KCK. And they're talking about former KCK detective and police captain Roger Golubski. He's been the focus of more than a dozen KCTV5 investigations. Here's investigative reporter Angie Racono.
Silence is criminal.
That's right.
There were cries for justice.
We demand justice today.
And calls for common sense.
We stepped forward and asked the KBI to thoroughly and expeditiously investigate Roger Golubski.
Elected officials from across KCK and faith leaders came together to openly release a letter to the KBI demanding an investigation into Roger Golubski. He's a former KCK detective who allegedly preyed on the people he swore to protect. Allegations against Golubski have been whispered on the streets of KCK for years. They became public when Lamont McIntyre's legal team went to court. McIntyre's team proved he was innocent and even told the court they figured out the real killer. But the most jaw-dropping information was laid out in court documents as drug dealers and poor black women gave affidavits accusing Golubski of being nothing more than a thug with a badge.
Golubski was so powerful that I didn't think some of us would have felt comfortable saying no or turning down his requests for sexual favors. When Golubski or any other officers came to the bottoms, we knew we had a choice of providing sexual services or getting arrested. If you did not provide what he wanted, oral sex, then he took you to jail. That was simply understood.
More and more people saying the same thing, it starts being more credible.
Those allegations are backed by a former FBI agent and a retired KCK police officer who say Golubski's tactics were well known in the department and on the streets. But he was powerful and he was untouchable. One of the most gut-wrenching affidavits comes from Lamont McIntyre's own mother.
He's got power. I don't got anything. I ain't got nothing.
Rosie McIntyre claims to be one of the victims of Golubski's sexual extortion. She says when she refused to play his games, somehow 3 of her relatives ended up in a police lineup for a double murder. Her son Lamont McIntyre was later convicted and sent to prison for 23 years in a criminal case which lacked motive and physical evidence. The KBI continues to investigate. The dirty cop did dirty things. KCTV5 has revealed all of this numerous times. We've done more than a dozen reports. Allegations involving Golubski have even made national news. The case was featured in the New York Times, where a possible revenge motive was laid out. But it's tough to see any accountability for this former detective. It's unclear if any investigator has even directly questioned Golubski. Golubski and his legal team won't return any messages to KCTV5, so we recently stopped by his house. No one came to the door. We noticed his car sitting in the driveway, which brings us back to today.
It's time that you do your job the way we see fit.
And renewed calls for justice. The open letter points out, despite the preponderance of information that has been brought forward, Golubski has not been held accountable. Today, the KBI sent the following statement. That investigation continues, but to date we have found no evidence of any violation of Kansas law that is within the statute of limitations. However, during the course of our investigation, information related to possible federal violations was shared with federal authorities for their consideration and possible action. Roger Golubski worked at the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department for more than 35 years as a detective and eventually a police captain. It's unclear how many cases he touched. We will keep you posted on this latest push for accountability. In KCK, Angie Racono, KCTV5 News.